The man's eyes were bloodshot, his voice hoarse, and his body trembling slightly as he stood at the open door of the jet, watching her step aboard. "Why did you return it?" he asked, as the engines hummed behind them. She blinked, startled. "Because it wasn't mine." He studied her with the kind of intensity that people save for rare things they can't believe are real. No one ever returns things anymore. The story of how Clara Thompson, a struggling waitress, ended up on that private jet began just 5 days earlier, with a rain-soaked street, a forgotten grocery bag, and a heart that refused to ignore a simple act of honesty. Clara's life had always felt like walking a tightrope in a storm. Every step she took came with the fear that one slip could throw everything into chaos. At 26, she worked 2 jobs, mornings at a diner, and nights at a small theater concession stand. Her mother had passed away 2 years ago, and with her father long gone, Clara had only herself to rely on. On Monday afternoon, after a long shift at the diner, Clara stopped by the corner store to grab discounted bread and eggs. She had exactly $8.23 left in her pocket for the week. Rain poured heavily outside, and as she stepped out under the leaky awning, she noticed a brown paper bag sitting on the wet bench nearby, untouched, but clearly someone's groceries. She looked around. The street was nearly empty, just a few people hustling by with their umbrellas. Curiosity got the better of her. She approached the bag, checked it. It was full of organic items, imported cheese, fresh herbs, even a bottle of expensive olive oil. At the very bottom, a small receipt had a name printed on the top, Benjamin L. Rourke. There was also a phone number. She hesitated. She could take it home. No one would know. The items inside would last her the week, maybe longer. But something inside her, a stubborn whisper of her mother's teachings, told her to do the right thing. She called the number. A tired, elderly voice answered. "Yes? Who is this?" "Hi," Clara said cautiously. "I just left Marty's Grocers and found a bag. It has your name on the receipt." There was a long pause, then a deep breath. "You found it?" I must have left it when I sat to call my car. My mind's not what it used to be." She agreed to meet him in the store parking lot 10 minutes later. When he arrived, a tall, older man in his 60s, wearing a dark coat and a slightly puzzled expression, he looked at her as if seeing a ghost. "You found it. And brought it back," he murmured. "Do you know what's in this?" She smiled shyly. "I didn't look too closely. I just figured it belonged to someone who might really need it." Benjamin stared at her. "Most people would have taken it. Kept it. I wouldn't have blamed them." Clara chuckled. "I guess I'm not most people." He thanked her again and again, almost embarrassingly so, before offering her a few dollars for the trouble. She politely declined and walked away, her damp shoes slapping against the pavement, never expecting to hear from him again. 2 days later, the theater manager called her into the dusty office. "Clara," he said, looking confused, "a man called here for you. Said his name is Mr. Rourke. Said it was important." Surprised, Clara called him back during her break. "I've been thinking about you," Benjamin said. "Not in a strange way, I want to thank you. In a bigger way." "I really didn't do much," she replied, brushing it off. "I know you didn't have much yourself. I saw your shoes. I saw your uniform." There was silence. "Would you meet me for lunch tomorrow?" "My treat." "No pressure. I just want to talk." Hesitant but curious, she agreed. They met at a quiet bistro in the better part of town. He was already seated, holding a small notebook and sipping tea. When she arrived, he stood up, genuinely glad to see her. They talked. For hours. About life. About loss. Clara shared how her mother taught her to always give more than you take. About how hard it had been since her mom passed, how the hospital bills swallowed everything, how she couldn't finish school, how dreams now seemed like luxuries. Benjamin didn't interrupt. He listened. Then he opened the notebook. Clara, I didn't tell you this earlier, but I'm not just some forgetful old man. I'm the founder of the Rourke Foundation, an investment group and philanthropic fund. I've been looking for someone like you. She frowned. Someone like me? He smiled. Honest. Kind. Driven. Someone who sees value in others and expects nothing in return. Then he leaned forward. Would you come with me to New York? There's a leadership summit on social innovation. I think you should see it. She blinked. You mean, like, on a plane? A private one. We leave Friday morning. I'll take care of everything. She thought it was a prank at first. A test. But Friday came, and there he was, waiting at the airstrip beside a sleek jet, waving her over. She had never flown before. In New York, Clara found herself among scholars, leaders, and entrepreneurs. Benjamin introduced her as a guest speaker, a reminder that kindness isn't about grand gestures, but small ones, done quietly and with heart. She was terrified standing at that podium. But she told her story. About the groceries. About her mother. About how she'd given the bag back not for a reward, but because it was right. She didn't know her words would move people to tears. That weekend changed her life. Benjamin sponsored her return to school. He mentored her. Eventually, she began working with the Rourke Foundation on outreach programs for youth and women struggling with poverty. She spearheaded initiatives in communities just like the one she came from. Years later, when she herself was invited to give the keynote at the Global Ethics Conference in Geneva, Clara remembered that rainy day with the forgotten bag. She ended her speech with this. I didn't give back the groceries expecting anything. I did it because I believed someone else needed them more than I did. But sometimes, in giving away what you think you can't afford to lose, you gain more than you ever imagined. Not money. But doors. People. Hope. So when that same man, Benjamin L. Rourke, stood at the door of the jet that day and asked why she did it, she didn't hesitate. Because it wasn't mine, she said again, smiling softly. And because my mother taught me that even when life gives you nothing, you still have the power to give something back. He nodded slowly, his eyes misty. That's why you're going to change the world, Clara. And as the jet lifted into the clouds, the girl who once had less than $10 in her pocket looked ahead, not with fear, but with purpose, toward the life she never thought she could reach.